Okay. Next wine's a Malbec, but from a place we're probably not that accustomed to. It originated in France, but now it's most associated with Argentina. You're going to learn why that is in a minute. It's deep purple in color. I don't know why. I just read that line and I thought of Smoke on the Water there. It's thick-skinned and needs lots of sun to grow properly. So you're going to get a lot of color from it because it's got a lot of skin. We were talking about the skin to juice ratio. You're going to have more of that with Malbec. It does not have a long finish, so it's better for leaner, less fatty red meat. Most common flavors and aromas are red plum, blackberry, vanilla, sweet tobacco, cocoa. Those are a lot of flavors that are generically associated with Malbec. A little bit of history. This is this gross little bug here. Malbec is one of the grapes that's allowed to be grown in Bordeaux, although you hardly ever see a Bordeaux Malbec anymore. In 1869, phylloxera, which is this little mite or this little bug here, destroyed all the Malbec and most of the other vines in Bordeaux. If you've ever heard about anybody talking about phylloxera, this is it right here. This is a drawing of it, and this is it in action. It kills the plants, it robs them of their nutrients, and it just devastated the vines in Bordeaux. So when this happened, they cut back considerably on Malbec vines in Bordeaux when they replanted. So phylloxera hit the vineyards of Bordeaux, killed the vines, but when they replanted, they didn't put a lot of Malbec into the vineyards. Phylloxera destroyed the vines in Cahors, where this wine comes from as well, but they decided to replant the vines with some new rootstock that was resistant to phylloxera. We'll have a phylloxera class at some point in time. But around the same time, Malbec was brought to Argentina by a Frenchman in 1868. So they took the vines, moved them to Argentina, planted them in Argentina, and phylloxera has not been a major issue in Argentina. So because of that, Malbec is now more associated with Argentina than it is in France, and even though it originated in France. So now Argentina produces about 75% of the Malbec produced in the world, and France only produces about 15%. So that's a little bit of history of why France doesn't grow as much Malbec anymore and why Argentina is the world leader in Malbec. So a little history there. In terms of Cahors, here's Bordeaux in France, and that little black circle there is Cahors. That little speckle of an area right there is Cahors. It's directly east of Bordeaux. If it's a Cahors, the red, and if you make a red wine there, it has to be 70% Malbec. The other 30% can be either Merlot or Tannat, which is the other grape we're going to experience tonight. In France, a more common name for Malbec is Cat. So if you ever go there and you look at a wine list and it says Cat, it's a Malbec. So that's what a lot of France calls Malbec Cat. Most of the vineyards are on gravelly soil, and that's important because just like gravel soil is important in Bordeaux for growing Cabernet, it's important for growing Malbec here, because what the gravel does is it reflects the sun, it reflects the heat up and back into the vines, and the vines need that heat to ripen properly. Like Bordeaux, it's impacted by the Atlantic Ocean with hot summers and cold winters, allowing more complex wines. You generally get more complex wines from areas that have a big variation in temperatures. If you get a wine from an area that's always warm, it's going to be super fruity. If you get a wine from an area that's pretty chilly, it's going to be real minerally and earthy and that sort of thing, maybe a little bit of vegetable characters. But if you have wide fluctuations in temperatures, you'll get a little bit of both. And when you have a variety of different aromas and flavors, that's what, how they define, complex wines and that sort of thing. But unlike Bordeaux, in addition to getting the cool air off of the Atlantic, you're also getting some warm air from the Mediterranean a little bit. So although you wouldn't call these fruity wines, you're generally going to have wines with a little more fruit than you get from Bordeaux just because of where it's situated there. So that's a little bit about the growing conditions there. In terms of Malbec from Cahors, it's generally, these are typical flavors: red plum, dried leaves, boysenberries, iris, gonna get a little floral character there, cocoa power, more earthy, lighter body, and higher acidity than Malbec from Argentina. So these are gonna be a little more earthy and a little less fruity than you're probably used to Argentinian Malbecs.